Okay, so good afternoon once again. Today we are going to look at HR data visualization and storytelling. That is more like when you have some kind of data, you may want to use or apply the right tool or the right visual for it. And the focus is not just about the visual, but you being able to tell the story behind the visuals that you are building. So at the end of the day, if you use, let's say, a stack bar, and then you get some kind of result. What does that mean? What is the story behind whatever thing you've visualized? So that is what the data visualization and storytelling is all about. So in fact, HR data is as good as your ability to understand and communicate it. So basically, it's let's say essential that you'll be able to select the right visual to communicate the kind of story behind any given data. So basically, when you have some kind of data and you apply the wrong visualization, you will come to a wrong conclusion because whatever visual you use, we actually have a way of interpreting whatever the outcome the visuals produce. Okay, all right. All right. So when we talk about visualization, we are not talking about pretty graphics. Okay. Our interest is not much on you being able to come out with the nicest dashboard or visual, something like that. But it's about you coming out with the kind of visual that is meaningful or the one that makes sense to every single individual who is looking at it. But of course, aesthetics is important. That you can't just throw any visual on your dashboard at any position like that, or maybe just blend any kind of colors at all you want. So aesthetics is quite important, but if we want to look at the value or the story behind the data, then we are not paying so much attention to how nice or pretty your graphics looks like, but it's about the kind of meaning we can draw out of it. Okay. So from a technical perspective, data visualization is just a way or a process of representing data in a graphical format. Okay. So it doesn't end there, but then we need to be able to facilitate understanding and then communicate the story behind whatever data we have at hand. Okay. All right. So basically, when we talk about visualization over here, of course, since you guys are analytics students, you know something about data transformation or data cleaning. In fact, data visualization is one of the techniques for data cleaning because it helps you to identify a whole lot of issues in your data. If we have some kind of outliers in your data, visuals can actually help you identify all of these things. Okay? So what we are going to dwell on in today's session is going to be more of not building any kind of graphics or visuals that are merely pretty, but then we are interested in ones that are meaningful. So, of course, someone may be asking why the need for data visualization. Of course, data visualization is important because it enhances our understanding. Okay. Now, for example, if I have to ask you, okay, just pay attention to what we have on the left side. We have employees over here, and then we have sales for the year 2022. Now, which employee made the highest sales based on what we have here? Can anybody tell us which employee made the highest sales over here?
Amamu.
Yes, I know you are saying Amamu because you were able to infer from this one. Is that not the case?
The figures.
Yeah, so you were just looking at the figures to tell.
Yes.
I know some of you actually swayed to realize that the data over here is what is represented here. And you were
Yes, the
able
same
to
thing.
quickly see that Ama has got the highest and the rest are down here. So you'll be able to conclude that Ama is made the highest sales within the year. But if I give you raw figures like this, let's say we have about 500 of them, it now becomes very difficult for you to describe the data very well or tell which one is even the highest, the lowest, what are the outliers in this data, you come to realize that it's going to be a problem with this one. So that is what makes it important for us to visualize our data. When you visualize your data, it makes it very easy and then quite fast for people to understand what is happening in the data. So you may take about, say, 10 to 15 seconds to figure out which one is the highest at this point. But with a visual, I can just look at it, maybe at a glance, tell you that this one is the highest. So this is one of the reasons why data visualization is very important. Now, the second thing too is visualization is important because it helps us to identify trends and then pattern in data. Okay. Now, ignore what we have over here for now. Of course, I know you are seeing it. You can't take your eyes off it. But if you look at this and I ask you, what is the trend in this particular data? I know it's going to be a bit tough for you to tell, right? It's actually going to be a bit tough. And in addition, if I ask you what is the highest sales over here, it's going to be a bit tough because you have to look at the data very well for about 15 to 20 seconds before you identify that. But if I try to visualize it, then I'm able to tell the irregularities or maybe the fluctuations in the sales data. Like, for the period 2013, our sales dropped, and then we kept it on a level for 2014, and then we started to rise up like that. So with visuals, we are able to identify patterns and then trends in our data so easily, of which if you look at the raw data, it will be very difficult for you to identify. In addition, data visualization is actually going to help us to effectively communicate the story behind the data. Okay, it makes it easier to even present your findings, because right now, if you have to say communicate the findings or maybe the story behind this data here, it's going to be a bit tough. You can't just look at it to say that, oh, okay, at this point it was high, it dropped, it went here, this one was the same. Like, it's going to be a bit tough. But with visuals like this, it makes it very easy to communicate the story behind it. And as well, it is going to help us to make data-driven decisions. Okay. So once we visualize our data, of course, we can make some kind of projections. Now, look at this one. If you look at this data over here, someone can say that for 2021, we are expecting that this guy here hits up like this or maybe come down somewhere here. So we can say our value for 2021 is going to be between 140, 100 and then 120, 100. Okay, these two values. Okay. And as well, we use data visualization to explore our data. So like I mentioned earlier on, you can use data visualization to even identify issues in your data through your exploration process, right? But there can be some challenges when it comes to data visualization. So of course, we know the good sides of data visualization. It helps us to do all of these things. But sometimes there are some problems with the data. Okay. Over here, I'm going to ask you what kind of challenge you face with this one. But before then, let's discuss these two things. Okay. Now, data quality and then pre-processing. Now, sometimes when the data is presented in some funny format, you trying to visualize it becomes difficult. You can come out with a wrong, let's say, conclusion if the data quality is poor. In fact, data quality comes in different formats. It can be arrangement, it can be the data types, it can a lot of issues. Okay, and because of the data quality issues we are going to face, it's going to introduce some kind of biases when we are interpreting the data. Now, look at this thing here. Okay, we try to plot the same data here on this. Okay, it's this one here is no different from this one, same data. Now, let me ask you, because we are talking about challenges in data visualization, what do you think is the problem with this visual? Or, okay, let me come from this perspective. What trend, what do you find in this data? Can anybody tell us the story behind this?
No, Pastor, it's not really a trend.
It's not really a trend. And why are you saying so?
The years are mixed up together.
Okay, so that is the issue with data quality. Okay, now because this data here was presented in a fun way like this, see 2014, 2011. In fact, we also decided to plot this same data just like how it is presented. Okay, and because of data quality issues, it's going to introduce some kind of biases or wrong interpretations. Now, someone at a glance, without looking at maybe the arrangement of the years, may say that, oh, we see this one keeps going up, coming down. So at this point, we're expecting that maybe it comes down one more time, or from here it jumps up. Not knowing that the date is not, or the year is not arranged in order. So you relying on just this visual to come to a conclusion. In fact, you're going to come out with a wrong conclusion. Okay. So these are some of the challenges you are going to face when it comes to data visualization. In addition to that, choosing the right visual to represent your data becomes a challenge as well. You have this data here. You don't really know which one to use. I'm facing this challenge here right now. Let me open Power BI. I'm running some kind of analysis. We are doing some research work into AI. It is about one company. They tend to rate various companies based on their investment in AI innovation and then implementation. Okay, and let me show you this. Now I have to analyze the data. It got to a point and I was confused on which kind of visual I should employ. Okay, and this is one of the challenges you are going to face when it comes to data visualization. Let's finish loading. Okay, now look at this one. I'm trying to, all I'm trying to do over here is, you see this, I'm trying to look at the performance of a single country as against the rest of the countries. So this is this country here, you see the position, when it comes to AI innovation, this is their position. So it means we have all of these countries performing better than this country. Now, this is a normalized data. So the lower the number, the better the performance of the country. So we see all of these countries performing better than this, and this country is just performing better than this, about 6 countries. Now, when it comes to AI implementation, they are somewhere at the center. But look at AI investment. We see this country, we have a lot of investment in AI. Now, I try to do further investigations to see which pillar of investment are they even performing better. In fact, the pillar for investment, we have implementation, we have a lot of them. If you look at, not this one, it is here. So I now decided to look at the data in terms of AI implementation. And this is their index for talent, infrastructure, and then operating environment. And this. So before I decided to use this particular visual, I was honestly confused. I didn't know which visual to use, whether to present the data in a format like this, or I should use a different visual to present it like this. Okay. Now, it's the exact same challenge you are going to face in your data visualization journey. You selecting the right type of chart or visual to understand the story behind your data also becomes a challenge. And sometimes handling large and then complex data sets becomes a huge problem for data visualization. Now, in this case, look at this one here. No, the data set is huge. Okay, I have a lot of them. So trying to visualize it, I don't even know which kind of visualization to use. Imagine I wanted to use a pie chart. This thing is going to break. Okay. If I decide to use pie chart to visualize this, okay. Then which other visual should I use apart from this one? So you come to realize that this is the best. But it's the best because the data set is like huge and awesome. And that's the reason why I was facing that kind of challenge. So data visualization has got this challenge in terms of handling large data sets. Okay. Now, once we know data visualization and then we understand its relevance and the challenges in it. We want to look at some few steps you have to go through in order to visualize your data or for it to make sense. Okay. So first, we are saying that you need to understand your data. Okay. You understanding your data involves you understanding the category, the data types, all of these things. In fact, that is going to help you determine the kind of visual to use. Okay. Then once you understand the data, you know what entails your data. You need to understand the kind of information you need or the kind of questions you want to answer. So given any data set, depending on the kind of questions someone is asking, you may want to apply an appropriate visual. Okay. And once you know the kind of answers or questions being asked, then you have to select the right technique or let's say visual to look at the story behind, let's say, the data. But of course, this is from the literature, these are the kind of steps you have to go through. But in real life, if you want to implement, let's say, data visualization, now you go through a lot of processes. Of course, the data might be dirty, and once the data is dirty, you have to try and then pre-process it by you transforming the data. After the transformation, you ask, what type of data do you have? What do I want to, what kind of information do I need from this data? You have to pick the right tool. Now, after selecting the tool, it's going to give you some kind of result. Now you tend to ask yourself some questions. Does this visual answer the question or give me the kind of answer I'm interested in? If it is yes, then you are done. But if it is no, then you have to go back through the process. You pre-process the data, you ask all of these questions again. So trying to implement data visualization in real life, it is not just 1, 2, 3, more like a linear kind of thing. It is not linear. No, it's very complex. You have to go through a lot of process, make decisions, move up and down like that. Okay. So this is at a higher level. So we're trying to know the data. We are saying that you may want to check if the data is qualitative or quantitative in nature. Okay? And if it is quantitative, what kind of quantitative data is it? Is it discrete? Is it continuous? Is it categorical? What at all it is, okay? Once you understand the data from this perspective, you know which kind of analysis you would want to perform. Now, for example, if this is let's say you look at your data and it's qualitative data. Of course, you can't plot that qualitative data on a pie chart or a bar graph or something like that. You may want to run different kind of analysis, like you want to do sentiment analysis. You also want to look at words occurrence, which word is appearing most of the time, okay? And depending on that, it's going to inform you on which kind of tool to use. You don't usually say all of the time need Power BI or something like that. You can use NVivo. It's a qualitative analysis tool. You can use SPSS. It's also a tool that is good for statistics. Okay. Second, you also need to understand the kind of information you need from the data. Of course, this is where you ask yourself some kind of questions. Okay, what is the underlying question? What is the objective? What do you want to achieve? Once you know that, then it's good. That is going to help you to know. Now, in my case, okay, in this particular study that I'm working on, I'm just interested in the performance of this country as against the other countries. So what I'm going to do is when I pick this country, now, because I want to compare the performance of this against the other countries in that same continent, say Europe, I'll pick this, then I'm going to check it against the least performing one and maybe the highest performing ones. What are the similarities? What are the differences? Why is this country not performing well in terms of AI talent? Why are they not performing well in terms of infrastructure and then even operating environment? What are the policies the government is putting in place? Now that I know what I'm interested in, I know I have to do comparison. So you see the kind of graph that I'm putting up here. I'm trying to compare this one, the performance of this being index 17 as against the rest. So you knowing that is going to help you to know whether you should do a simple comparison, whether you should do a time series kind of analysis, okay, whether you should run correlation analysis, whether you should rank them like I have, okay? So you're trying to understand the kind of information you need from the data or the kind of questions you want to answer from the data. It's going to help you to know which technique to employ, okay? We have a lot of them. If you have to look at deviation, that is why I was asking you about your statistics, because this one here comes down to statistics, okay? Let's move away from visuals a bit, but you knowing that you have to do comparison between this one and this, then of course, when you are done, you may want to run some kind of t-test to look at it if there's a significant difference between this data set and the other data set. So that one comes to statistics, but over here, we are looking at data visualization 101, not statistics. All right. So in all, based on this, you understanding the kind of information you need from your data, once you understand the question, all of these guys are available for you to use. Of course, if you want to do comparison, all of these charts are available for you to use. If you want to look at the data over a given period of time, of course, we are talking about maybe time series and those kind of things. So you may want to look at all of these charts. If you want to look at the relationship between different variables, then of course, we are talking about correlation and we can use scatter plots and these ones are like. If you also want to look at the distribution of your data, you may want to apply this, and these are like fractions. If you want to look at the performance of this as against what is down here, you are free to do that. And finally, what is this one? Let me pull it down. Yeah, this is ranking. If you want to look at positions, how this one is performing as against this one, then of course. So you can see why I had to use the decomposition tree, okay, in my analysis, okay, right. Then the last thing in our steps is to select the appropriate technique and then a visualization tool. So just like what I was saying, depending on the kind of questions you have, you understand your data, you now want to select a tool to run some kind of analysis or maybe build your visual. Now, if you want to go graphical user interface tools, of course, Power BI is available, Tableau is available, SPSS is available, and the likes. But if you want to come from a programmatic perspective, of course, R is there, Python is there, Julia is there, JavaScript is there, Java is there. We have a lot of tools out there you may want to use, but you may want to select the one you are familiar with or the one that can easily do the job. While we are saying that maybe Python may be stronger or powerful than Power BI, there are some kind of tasks you don't need Python to complete. Okay? You just need Power BI, just like the one I'm doing. If there is a need for me to build some kind of model, of course, I may not reach out to Power BI. I may want to use Python to do that. Otherwise, I'll have to pay for Power BI to use their AI feature to analyze that kind of data. So depending on maybe the kind of questions you have, you understanding your data, you may want to select the right tool, okay? So selecting the right tool, that is bringing us to our main discussion. In fact, we have column and then bar charts, okay? So the question is, when do we have to use these ones, okay? Now look at this one here. Of course, it's communicating the same information as what we have here. But when do we have to use this and then when do we have to use that? Now, basically, we are using this one here to visualize our data to understand changes over time and then compare maybe one category against the rest, okay? So in doing this, we can say in January, we were somewhere 150, February, we were somewhere here, and then March, we are somewhere here. Now, we can also use this same data for comparison to say why is March relatively smaller than maybe that of February and then January. So if you want to use column and then bar chart, these are the instances where you may want to use that. But this one here is ideal for chronological kind of data. But look at this one. In fact, this is also ideal for this same type of chronological data. But when you see these names tend to slant like that, okay, it becomes very difficult to read. You don't know whether it belongs to this one or it belongs to this one. Then something like this becomes appropriate. So this is what I mean. You see this one. If I decide to change this visual to say that, okay, I want to use, let's say this. Okay, do you see what's happening? I think this time around, it's slanting with, look at this, the way it's slanting. It makes it difficult. Let's say this one, Italy. Is it this one or this one? Okay, it becomes very difficult to tell if Italy is this or that. Okay, so let me switch back to this guy and reduce, because I need it for what I'm doing. Okay, so, oh no. So if you look at the values over here, and then the orientation is going to change, then of course you may want to reach out to this one because they both do the same thing. All right. Then stack bar, and then the 100% stack bar chart. When is it ideal to use this one or this? Okay. So this is more like fractions, and this is more like we are looking at different categories. Okay. So it's ideal when total categories is not the focus. It focus on the composition of each subcategory over time. So if you look at this, of course, the choice of colors here, it's some way, but this one here is educational information. This is entertainment, and that of leadership. Okay. All right. Then going forward, I will ask you some questions. Then we look at that. Then we also have the double bar chart. That is, we want to use this one here to compare something over time. So let's say we have, in this case, we have performance of or number of students in terms of gender, males and then females over a given period of time. So we are saying that in the year 1995, the number of boy students were more than that of females. Okay, so in that case, this kind of chart becomes appropriate. Sometimes we can even use it to visualize 3 different groups or categories. But when the groups is, say, becoming a lot plenty, it becomes difficult to use this one here for those kind of comparisons. Now, I think we've seen this one here before, but I'm going to go ahead to and then ask again, what do you think is the challenge with this one? Of course, you see that the years over here is not arranged in a very good way. So we're trying to rely on this visual to make decision is going to mislead us. So going forward, we have others that we'll talk about. Then we also have pie and then donut chart. Okay. In fact, they are both okay. They are both fractional, trying to look at how this guy is performing as against the rest of them. But I think the only difference between this one and this one here is that the kind of properties it has, and sorry, apart from the properties, how the visual it looks like. That is all. But like I said, if you want to visualize this one, when you have a very large data set or large categories or features, it becomes very difficult to do. Because this is how many features: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Imagine you have about 100 of them. It becomes challenge, something like this. Okay, so you come to realize that this is almost. Can anybody look at this one and tell me what's happening here? Because in my case, I don't understand anything.
Percy, this one, it even hurts my brain.
Yeah, it becomes very difficult for you to understand what is this, what is like each one of this, and how is this one comparing to all of these categories. Now it becomes very difficult to understand. Okay, now we also have line charts. Okay, more like time series. Okay, so we would want to use line charts when we have continuous kind of data. Okay, so we are not interested in discrete data. For discrete data, we can use just bar charts to do that. But if we have continuous data, then we may want to reach out to a technique like this. Or if we also want to look at change over time or relationship between different variables, we may also want to reach out to line chart. Okay, so this is typically for investigating relationship between 2 different variables. Okay, so let me ask you this one. Looking at this one, do you think there's a relationship between revenue and then units sold? And if there is, what is the relationship between these two variables? If there is not, why do you say there is not? Anybody coming through?
First,
Yes.
well, I think there's a relationship.
Okay.
Looking at this, I see that as the number of items sold increases, the revenue also increases.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
more like a positive correlation between them.
Yeah. So you come to realize that we're able to identify this one with the help of this visual scatter plot. Okay. So yes, like I said, we can also use visuals to identify problems in our data. And look at this one. This guy here is an outlier. So we are easily able to spot it and then handle it. Then we also have the funnel. Okay. So we use it to visualize a linear process that has connected sequential stages. So I said, from this stage, we are moving to this stage. From this stage, we are moving to this stage. Okay. So that is where you may want to use this one here for. And sometimes what pie chart can do, of course, some people use any kind of visual at all at any given point in time, but you know, this one here may give you different values, not as if it is wrong, but based on its computational approach. So you can see at the base here, this is the highest and it keeps becoming smaller, more like fractions. Then we also have cards. We use cards to display key performance indicators. Of course, you've used this kind of things severally in Power BI. And then we also have gauge. So gauge is more like what you have on your dashboard. When you have enough fuel, it is able to tell you that you have enough. When it's falling, it tells you that, hey, this is falling. So this kind of KPI here, we usually use it in monitoring our target. So you can see something like this. Maybe your target is 140, okay? And you are currently here. So you may want to do more to achieve your target. Or maybe, yeah, it could be target, it can be anything, maybe fuel level, just anything at all. Okay. So this machine is going off by a moment. Okay. All right. So that is what we use the gauge for. When you have a target and then you want to see your level, whether you are meeting the target, and then how fast you are doing that. Okay. And we also use maps to visualize our data based on geographical locations. Okay. So, for example, this could be the number of customers you have within various regions. So, the larger the size, the more customers you have within that region. So, if you look at maybe this particular side, you will know that maybe a lot of your customers are here and then here, and at a glance, you're able to tell where maybe you don't have a lot of customers. Okay. So that's it. It can be just anything. It's not just number of maybe customers. It can be maybe the size of your factory in various regions. So you can see that, okay, this factory here has got maybe 5,000 employees. This one here has got 4,000 employees. This one has got just 100 employees. Okay. So depending on the metric you are interested in, you can use map to visualize it. Then we also have a tree map. The tree map is also similar to the pie chart, okay? Just fractions. So it tells you that maybe this is the highest, then this, and then that, okay? Now, you look at this one here, you come to realize that this is not an appropriate visual when we have a lot of categories. So this is similar to the pie chart, okay? It looks like a pie chart, but rendered in a different form, okay? All right. There are some few things we need to pay attention to when we are doing data visualization, okay? Like I said, we need to avoid slated labels if possible. So something like this, instead of we selecting something like this, we can reach out to this kind of chart. And in addition, we also need to include a zero baseline, okay? So look at this. Of course, this is 2016, 2017, this is going up, but look at the interest rate starting from this level. We need a zero base, just like what we have over here. So at the point 0, we want to know what is actually happening, okay? We want to know at the point 0 what is happening. Then from 0, we jump to what? So these are some kind of advice you may want to pick in your data visualization journey, okay? In addition, we need to also order our data, okay? So it's very important to order the data based on maybe some criteria, okay? So in this case, what we are using as an example is the values, okay? Look at this. You look at it at a glance, you know that this one is the highest, but have to come down. It can stress you in identifying maybe some kind of pattern in the data. But if you look at this one here, okay, that is because the values over here, it doesn't follow any pattern. Okay, look at this one, that we are able to arrange this data based on the smallest to highest. Okay, so if this one here follows a pattern like month, date, those kind of things, then it's okay. But if it doesn't follow any pattern, just random categories, then it's best for you to arrange the data in the order of maybe the value. Then we also need to use suitable proportions. Now look at these two. Okay, this one here, it becomes very difficult to read, and I think this one here looks a bit better. So these are just suggestions, okay? Suggestions. It's also important to keep it simple. I've come to realize that we have some people, when they want to build dashboards, they want to put every single information on that same piece of page, instead of them to put maybe the key performance indicators on the first page, then add details. So this is what I mean by that. Let me try. I think I have some Power BI dashboard here. Let me open this. It's a analysis we did last year. Yeah, last year. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to use that to explain what we have over here. That keep it as simple as possible. Keep your key performance indicators over here. Then the details, you may want to keep the details in maybe other pages. And I think, oh, I didn't actually. So as it is loading, okay, good. So you can see this is a visual we built last year. Okay, so if you look at this visual here on the front page, you don't see a lot going on here. It is just performance indicators happening over here, where it tells you that okay, this is up by this and then low by this and then percentage change, all of these things. Okay, now if you look at this gives you an overview of all of the records with averages over here and that. Now, if you want to get the details, this is for waste management. If you want to get the details over here, of course, I have them in a menu over here. If I'm interested in that of the waste, I can just select this one and it opens the details for that of the waste for me. Do you understand that? If I want to go back, of course, I can just come here and then say that I'm interested in correlation analysis. Then it brings me here for me to see the correlation between all of these. But in your case, some people want to do something like they want to put everything on the same page, which doesn't help. Okay, so you would want to pick some of these things you may want to pick some of these things up. That try to keep it simple but insightful. Okay, don't put all of the details on a single page. And thank you very much on this. I don't know if you have any questions, suggestions, comments, anything, just bring it up for us to discuss it. And immediately we are done, we jump onto KPIs in human resource analytics. Anybody coming in?
No.
Okay. So would you need some short break before we continue, or you think we should continue? We've done about 42 minutes.
I think we can continue, Pastor.
We should continue. Okay. All right. That's fine. So the second material, it's quite short, no? How many pages? Just 13 of them. And then out of the 13, we have 3 that are not passed, so we have effectively 10. Okay. So we are talking about HR metrics. So what is it that we mean? So HR metrics are just quantitative measures for assessing and evaluating the effectiveness and efficiency of HR processes. So basically, HR, their activities, they do a lot. They employ, they recruit, they train, a lot of things. They do performance appraisal, those kind of things. How do they judge that this is going well or it's not going well? Those are the metrics or the key performance indicators. So as and when this one is not going well, we have some kind of metrics they use in identifying that, okay, this one here went well, this one here didn't go well. So that's what we are about discussing, okay? So we have a lot of them. In fact, we are not going to discuss everything. And this thing here, I think over the periods, they've been doing assignment of this. I can show you some of the work your colleagues did. What they do is, I have just 10 HR metrics over here: time to fill, annual turnover rate, absenteeism rate, all of these things. Then I ask the student to go and then look for maybe 5 each HR metrics and then prepare a PowerPoint slide and then submit. Okay. But I'm not interested in you giving me the same metrics. I need different metrics, ones that I haven't seen before or ones that are not here. That's it. So we are going to pick each one of them to discuss what is it. Okay, so time to fill, what is it? It measures the average number of days it takes to fill a job opening. So all we are trying to say is that if HR opens or advertise maybe vacancy, like, hey, we need this one, how long is it going to take for HR to get the right candidate to fill it? From the time of advertisement through the recruitment and the selection process up to the time they get the final one to say that, hey, this is the person we are going to work with. So in HR metrics, we call it time to fill. So it's just the total number of days we are going to use in order to get someone to fill a given vacancy or space. Okay. So when you calculate, if you use maybe Power BI to do your computation to get, this is the kind of formula you'll be using. That's it. If you use Power BI to calculate time to fill, and the number is very low, okay, the number is very low or maybe high, it has some implication. So a lower time to fill indicates a more efficient recruitment process. Okay, so that means if you calculate it and you get a value like 3 or 2 or 4, it means on the average it takes 4 days for the company to advertise and then get someone to fill that space. Okay, so that is what we have over here to give you some kind of understanding of each of the performance indicators or the metrics. Then we also have annual turnover rate. So it calculates the percentage of employees who leave the organization within a year. So like, let's say KNUST, we have a lot of staff, or let's say lecturers. Now within the year, how many lecturers left the university for maybe a different university, or maybe went on pension or just something? How many of them left? So the annual turnover rate is going to calculate the percentage and tell you that, hey, 10% of these people left, 10% like this were written. So when you calculate it, that is what we call the annual turnover rate. So if the result is high, it indicates potential issues with employee satisfaction, engagement, and retention. So you as an analyst, if you are working within the HR space, run analysis on annual turnover rate and is very high, then we are saying that employees have got issues. Maybe they are not satisfied with what they do, so they decide to switch. But if the turnover rate is very small, then you know that your employees, we assume that they are comfortable with what they are doing. Okay, so that is the meaning over here. Then we have absenteeism rate. It measures the rate at which employees are absent from work. Okay, so if you have a very high absenteeism rate, like put all of your workers together and then you are getting absenteeism rate of, let's say, 40%, then it's a problem. Your workers, they don't, do you understand? So a higher absenteeism rate may indicate issues with employee motivation, job satisfaction, and work-life balance. Yeah, because Nipano, this person here is a family man. You ask him to come to work on Saturday and then Sunday, when you know that this is a woman with kids. They have to stay with their families on maybe Saturdays or the weekends. You force them to come to work, and within the week, you see that they won't be coming to work because they are tired. They also need time for their family. Then they will begin to absent themselves like that. So as an analyst, if you run analysis on absenteeism rate and it's very high, then you have to understand that maybe your workers are struggling with motivation, satisfaction, or even work-life balance. Okay, so this is the formula for calculating this. So this is like we are multiplying everything by 100. Okay, right. Then cost per hire. It measures the average cost incurred to recruit and hire a new employee. Yes. So if you want to, it's very expensive to recruit employees because you need to advertise on maybe in the newspapers, and radio stations, TV stations like that. Then when they come, sometimes you have to give them some snacks or those kind of things. Okay. You also need a panel to sit down and then do the selection process. You have to pay them for sitting like that. So on the average, how much does it cost to hire one person? Okay, that is what the cost per hire does. So this metric helps evaluate the efficiency and effectiveness of the recruitment process. Okay, so if you are incurring too much money to recruit one person, then you are probably not being effective or efficient, because if you can employ the person within a day, then the cost is going to reduce. But for just one person, you are using like a year to employ that person. Whenever the panel sits, they will charge you. So cost per hire is going to increase. All right. Then we also have revenue per employee, which measures the revenue generated per employee. With respect to productivity and then efficiency. So let's say we have the total revenue of the company is, let's say 5,000 cedis, and then you have 5,000 workers. Then the revenue per employee is like just either 1 cedi or something. I don't know if I'm doing the computation right. If you have 5,000 cedis revenue and then you have 5,000 workers, then on average, every worker is bringing one. Do you understand? Like 1 cedi or $1. That is the implication. So this metric assesses the productivity of each employee. So if you have maybe 2 employees, just 2 employees, and then you are generating a revenue of 10,000, then that means each employee is bringing on the average 5,000 cedis. Okay. This is what the economists use. Do you know something about how do they even call it? Oh, I've forgotten the name. In economics, is it the theory of cost? You see something like that in theory of cost, where they will say that, okay, when you bring the first employee, what is the additional output they contribute? So let's say we have 10 employees, our output is 10. When you employ a new employee, we're expecting that our output should increase to maybe 10.5. Now, if the output increased to 10.5, then we are saying that the new employee that came in is the one contributing the 0.5, because when he wasn't around, the 10 were outputting 10. Okay, that's the same thing that is happening over here, but in a different way. So we pick the entire money that came in, then we divide it among all of the employees. Then we say that, okay, on the average, each employee is bringing this much. With that one, you can tell whether your employees are being lazy, they're hardworking, and so forth. Then we also have diversity representation. It measures the representation of diverse groups within the workforce to monitor progress. This one, you see, like when you go to some company, Ashantis you go to some company, Voltarians you go to some company, rich kids you go to some company, poor kids do you understand? That is what we use this one here to measure. To help us to assess the level of diversity within the organization. If you look at the HR literature, they try to link diversity to performance. The assumption is that, or the theory behind it is that if you have people coming from different backgrounds, it means they have different perspectives and they're trying to tackle the same problem. They will be coming from different angles to tackle the same problem. So at the end of the day, we'll be able to get a solution to the problem. But if you have like-minded people, all of them think in the same direction, like let's say Ashantis, all they know, let's say, for example, I'm just citing an example, please. Let's say all they like is fufu. When you bring them pizza, they'll go like, fufu is nicer than pizza. But you see, if you have a diverse group, we have some Chinese people in, Indians over there, Ghanaians in there, let them eat the food and you come to realize that some group will be saying that, no, pizza is nice. Some may also say that, oh, pizza is nice, but it's only nice in the evening. So you have diverse perspective that is going to help you solve any given kind of problem. So that is what this kind of metric measures or does. Then we have the HR to employee ratio. So this is an issue with professionals. So the number of HR professionals to the total number of employees. So if you have 10,000 employees and then your HR staff is, let's say, 2, then we are looking at one person taking care of 5,000 employees. Okay, that is what this one here signifies. So if you look at the example over here, if you have 10 HR professionals with 200 employees, then the ratio is 1:20. One HR professional is taking care of 20 employees, which can be difficult depending on what the organization is into. Okay, so we use this metric here to measure that. Good. So this is the assignment. I think I'll have to change the date. Okay, so that's going to be the assignment for you. In fact, for HR analytics. For this one, I don't worry so much. So the assignment is going to be to identify 5 key HR metrics, okay? And they should be different from the one we talked about. So 1, you need to explain the metric. You need to write the formula for calculating that metric. You also need to explain the relevance of the metric in HR and then provide an appropriate example. Now, this is what I mean. First, tell me what the metric is. Give me the definition of that metric. What is the formula for calculating it? Then tell me, what is the implication? If it is high, what does it mean? If it is small, what does it mean? Then give me an example of it. So if we come to this point, I think I have something like that, okay? This is the metric, the definition, the formula. If it is very low, this is what it means. But if it is high, this is what it means. Then you give me an example of that. So that is what this assignment is all about. So these are the rules. You cannot choose from any metrics in this slide. Then you also have to submit your work. I'm going to modify this rule a bit. I'll share the information with your rep. Right now, I'm not going to accept the individual assignment in my mail like that. Sometimes trying to organize them becomes very difficult. So you need to get all of them in a single zip file. Then the reps shares that zip file with me. So when I download the zip file, I have all of the assignments in there. Okay, that becomes much easier. So I'll provide details on maybe the dates for submission and how you are going to submit it. And that brings us to the end of the HR metrics. So the important thing here, you need to go away with is not the specific metrics and what they do, but then you need to understand what the metrics are, the common metrics over there, and then why they are even important. And we said that they are very important because it's going to help HR to know whether they are performing well or they are not performing well. Okay. All right. Any questions up to this point? Otherwise, we'll end the session. Any questions? Yes, come in.
Yeah, please kindly go over the assignment instructions for me. I dropped off.
Oh, I think it's so clear here. The thing is, you are going to identify 5 HR metrics. Okay. 5 of them. You can do a Google search and that. Now, when you get those 5 metrics, this is what I want you to do. First, explain what the metric is. So in my case, look at this. If I pick a metric, I'm able to explain what that metric does. So time to fill, it measures the average number of days it takes. Now, the second thing you have to do is you need to write the formula for calculating that metric. So just like we have here, give me the formula for calculating it. Third, you need to explain the relevance of that metric. So for example, if I come here, I'm able to tell you that if the result is low, this is the implication. If the result is high, this is the implication. Then I give you an example, which is the last thing. You provide an example to support your explanation. Then I also mentioned that this is for the last year students, okay? So I'm going to change the rules over here. I'll provide the information to your rep. So you don't have to worry about this one for now. So please, is it okay?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, so Christy, you can come in. Hello. Christy wanted to say something.
Hello, please, can you hear me? Yeah, I want to
Yes.
say something.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
My question is on the first slide, concerning the dashboard.
The dashboard.
Yes.
Is it the Power BI? The Power BI dashboard.
Yes.
Okay.
You are advising us, it's on the advice you gave us. You said we should present the key indicators on a particular dashboard page.
On a single page, yes.
Yes, and then when you click, it moves you to the detailed aspects.
So
can you
it shouldn't be,
highlight-
let me come in. It shouldn't be like when you click on something like how I've done it, but it should be tabs like this. If I click this one, I should get the details of this. If I select this one, I should get the details of this, something like that. So the first page is not just maybe key performance indicators. Like the first page should give you a summary of the entire thing. Like for example, how many workers do we have? Maybe how many of them are on leave? Like those summaries. Then if we want to look at the details, who and who are on leave, that should be on a different page. That is the details. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So you don't put all of the information on a single page like on the. It's some way.
I thought there's a way when you click on it, it will navigate by itself to maybe the next page for you.
Yes. Yes, there is a way of doing that. And that's what I did in my work.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to find out.
You are asking how I did it?
Yes, I saw you doing that. So I want to know how you, yes.
Oh, no, it's something I did. That is the reason why that button was even showing. It's a button I created myself in Power BI. And I instructed it that when I click on this, it should take me to this particular page.
Okay, that is the use for, what's the name for? Is it drilled through?
No,
right?
no.
That's not it.
It's something a bit advanced. It's something different.
Okay. I thought you could show me, but if it's
okay.
So
don't worry. So in one of our lab sessions, you see this is an image. This one here, it's an image. And I've linked this thing here. When you click on it, I've linked it to something else. That is a menu. So when I click on it, you see the menu shows up and everything is blurred. I did all of these things.
Oh, okay.
And I said, if you click on this one, it should take me to a different page for me to see something else. But the question is, where is this page? The dashboard is here. Look down here. This is the dashboard. This is the containers I just opened. So there are multiple tabs that I have linked together using these links. So it's not as if you also need to do the exact same thing as when you click it should. No. But the first page like this should give you summary of the entire thing. But if you want to look at the details of, let's say, the waste only, then this one gets deeper into, you can see different names here. This one here gives you details of that. Get it? I think the map is now loading for us to see what the things are. Okay. So that's what I was referring to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other concern? Okay, so if there isn't any concern, I'll end the session here. Then, God willing, next week when we meet, we are going to start with sentiment analysis and then social network analysis. So sentiment analysis, I think we may do the lab activity for sentiment analysis the same day because it's not much. The brofo over here is not much. The rest is practicals. Yeah. All of these things are practicals. You can see I have some codes in here to guide you on how to do it. Okay. But of course, if you are good in, let me stop the recording for now. Okay.